Hi guys, I'm back and we're going to do the finishing up of the rose today, even though it looks like it's a lot to do. Okay, so where are we at? Well, I'm going to just recap what I've done. I've sketched out the rose. You will be using ones that you find in coloring books, and that's fine. I'm not a sketching channel. I'm not going to teach you sketching at this point. Maybe later, but at this point, I am using a reference photo. And so we have the rose in its early forms. The colors I've used on this, I'm using scarlet red for the brighter areas. I'm using dark umber. And when you add dark umber to red, you get a sort of a dark brick red. My Derwent Chinese white pencil. Magenta is the color that you see underneath, where it was my mid-tone, where I'm just putting in my guidelines that show me where I'm going to eventually put in my darks and lights. So that I used my middle tone. It was easy to cover up and blend in. So that was the magenta. What else have I got in here? For my darker areas, that not my really dark, but like right in here, I'm using dark red. So that's been my palette so far. There'll be other colors in there. What I haven't used on this so far is any sort of blending medium. No white, nothing yet. I'm also using under my hand, because red, especially red seems to go everywhere when you're using it. So under my hand, I am using a piece of tracing paper. And I do recommend tracing paper to people, even in your coloring books, if you want to keep your page clean. I'm using tracing paper so you guys can see through it. I probably will do this from now on. I use it in private. I don't always film with paper under my hand, but I am getting a little more frustrated with what my backgrounds have been looking like when I don't use it. My pencil eraser, I'm using my electric, and I'm using just a simple gum eraser. I think it's by Prismacolor. So that's what I've used so far. Oh, I did put in a drop of black right there. Okay, just to bring the color, separate the colors. Once I get the whole picture done, I know this one and this one are going to really get dark. I'm not finished working on it. So that's where we are so far, and I'm going to continue this. Remember, you're going to be doing the same thing in your coloring books. I've enlarged the rose so you can really get an idea of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about hard lines and soft lines, and it applies to coloring books. With a coloring book, of course, you're going to have that black line going around. There's not much you can do. Realistic roses do not have that black line, so I don't know if you can take your picture or your rose to that level where it starts to look like it's popping off the page like it's a real rose. But it's still, there are a lot of good books. Oh, by the way, dinner was fantastic. Oh my God. That's like one of our favorite restaurants. Well, it wasn't ours. It was my husband and my kids. And I don't know why I've never gone before. Okay, so I'm taking my highlight pencil, my bright red, and I'm just adding it into areas that I know are going to have it throughout the flower. I could have done this earlier on, but I didn't. And that's what I'm beginning today to do. Wherever I see on the reference photo that really bright color, I just want to make sure that they're included. This is my scarlet red. And I'm just trying to get the same shapes as that I'm seeing. If you use reference photo that's not the picture that you're actually doing, try to get one that's pointed in the right direction. Like if I was going to do this rose, if it was in a coloring book, I would just look for the rose that is pointed upward. And you could follow along with the lights, and you don't have to think. Actually, using a photo really takes most of your questions away, especially when it comes to hair. Like, I don't do any hair without a reference photo. I mean, it's just something you gotta use. I almost feel like when you're using a photo reference, it's like paint by number. But it's your art. You're doing it, which is pretty cool, my opinion. Okay, so I have this going up. This is dark. Leads to light. And this is light up here. See how easy it is? And remember, we're concentrating on tones, making sure it's the same. Your pencil choice is in the same tonal range. Now, right now, there is a vast difference, but later on you will see when I start toning things with other pencils, I'll make more sense, I promise. Okay, so on here, this is all light, and it goes down. Once I get this part finished, the picture goes really easy. And even if you screw up on a flower and you don't get it perfect to look like the flower in the reference, nobody ever knows because it's a flower. The only time it really, really super matters is if you're doing a portrait. If you're doing a portrait and you get off by even a little bit, even if you're off by a hair in the nose, you will affect the way that portrait looks, and it won't look like that person. When doing a portrait, you really, really need good, clear, perfectly clear references. And I don't have the ability to sketch blindly a person. I have done pictures, I have done portraits, but I use light boxes and things of that nature because it's just that hard. There's a lot of different actual ways of getting your sketch. Your sketch is your most important thing on a portrait. If you don't have a perfect sketch, you don't have a perfect picture. Especially if you're going for photorealism. Dark and it goes into the light, but not that light. I'm not going to put in too much. I'm going to go back doing leaf to leaf, petal to petal. But I just felt more comfortable with it. Having the upper light tones in it. I don't know why I keep calling it a leaf. And this is why working with a camera and paper is so difficult. Okay. So on this one, it's going to go right down the center. And then I'll work on that. It's got like a funky, the thing has like a funky light line going down right up the middle. I don't know why. I guess it's just the way the light is hitting it. And this is why I like to get my lights and darks on the page, at least in my bottom layers. There's a technique where you put like a grid. It's actually called the grid method. I don't think I'm going to teach it to you anytime in the near future, but it's definitely something you might like to learn if you get into art. It's where you take this grid and you put it on the paper, and you actually have the lines on the paper. You do a lot of erasing, and you work square by square with your reference picture, and it really works out nice. I mean, I used to do that method all the time. That was a really good way of doing it. And you'll see some artists on YouTube doing it also. This picture is going to need a part 3. I'm going to do the petals off camera now that you've seen how I'm developing them. I'm going to do a lot of it off camera, but the final details, which are sometimes the hardest for people, this is just middle. You go through that. Remember I told you the ugly stage? I'm taking you through my ugly stage. And all my new students will be like, what? You can't color. Every picture has an ugly stage. I think I've talked to you about that before. It's that half done, half not done. Very little value change. And why I won't argue with it, because when I add lights going around it, I need that darker area. I'm not going to take it to my absolute value. And what is that? Black. Because it is definitely not black in the photo reference. And I know you guys want to see the photo reference, and I will show it to you at the end. Like the big reveal. It'll be close, but not exact. I didn't take too much time on this picture, as far as I should have sketched it a little closer to what it really is. I rushed it because I've been gone so long. I wanted to get something out to you guys. Now I'm going to change the tonal value on it because or the color value, because I'm using dark umber, and I want to bring it back to the redder side, so I'm going to use the dark red. And then I'll go back to using the umber on top of it. I don't see any white in it. I may take some artistic liberty in it. Not may, I think I will. Because you can always do that, it's a flower. Just making sure my hard edge stays hard. It's freeing not having those black lines. Let me tell you.
I don't know if it's something, concert.
That's on dance guys.
Yeah. It goes from...
It's the take ecstasy and just dance to boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
boom.
all night long.
For 9 hours
6 a.m.
until you dehydrate and we call an ambulance for you.
But it starts at tonight, 6 a.m. or something. I don't know what time.
It was Friday. I think it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah.
So they dress like that?
Yep.
And they...
Oh, yeah, and they usually wear the furry boots up to their knees and dress like fairies.
Some of the people, they were dressed like at
neon green,
today.
pink.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, come to an EDC show.
Here's some more.
And you see the guys.
Only in Vegas.
My chicken
Chase, and I had a piece of Deb's,
Even the baked clams and the zucchini.
Baked clams
was all
are great.
good. Baked
Oh my
clams
God.
are great.
The clams were good. I had one clam. That was
The last time we were there, you had, remember the mussels?
Yes, it was so good.
I like
the
that
prices,
zucchini
the
was so
prices are like
sweet.
so normal at that
Yes.
place.
Did you hear him?
Do you take this woman?
Hell yeah!
Attention, do some filling.
I'm just...
Stop.
Well, she does it all the time.
time.
That was half a sentence.
That's what my kids say. Mom, are you going to finish your sentence?
Yeah, where is...
I say it in my head. So where is this place? Spring Mountain and where?
Valley.
Valley View? So what is this? And what are we drinking? Let me...
Salt. Like oil and salt.
I want to take a picture of that. Okay, we're drinking apple wine. This is really good.
It's just not overcrowded. Just go through one at a time. It's a conversation there.
Oh my God, he's the best cook in the world.
Wow.
Cook the best meal.
Oh God, what do you do that's the best? What? Let me see. What do I... Corned beef? Your corned beef is fantastic. That's spicy pork. It's getting smoky.
What?
It's getting smoky.
You're right, honey. I smell like barbecue.
I just smell licorice.
That's the mint from
Oh.
You see that is the video screen. I was talking about the whole side of the hotel.
What hotel is that?
Palms.
Palms?
yeah.
Wow. That's huge.
Oh, very big deal.
I'm rolling down the window. It's very risky.
That's a wonder that people don't get into car accidents more. Just because, like, you have a video on, like, who's supposed to be looking at it but people in the car?
Passengers.
That's right. That's true, though. It's amazing that people don't get... It's distracting.
And that's a video screen the size of a building. Okay, so I'm on day 3 of this, and I'm getting there. I have to do this. This is actually a little bit harder because I have a lot of color changes in the... I have a lot of color changes in the reference photo. So I'm going to go with this area to begin with. And I found that I'm getting more of a continuity of color if I start with an undercolor of the umber. And this just gives, when I use the Polychromos on it, it sort of gives it brick feeling and a creaminess where I could put the Prismacolor underneath and the Polychromos on top, and I get a nice color blend much easier than if I do it the other way. Now, I haven't added any detail in yet, and I haven't actually used any blending. There's no blending medium that I used. I'm going to do it with a very small brush before I start the detail work. I'm going to use a drop of mineral spirits just to soften some of the colors that I have in here. And it'll also, like, pack it down into the tooth, and I'll be able to get another layer on. There's no area on here that I've lost tooth on, which is a really good sign for the paper. I doodled on this paper before, but I haven't done anything full like this. This is the Arteza multimedia paper, and they sent it to me with a whole bunch of other products to review. But I'm only reviewing the things that I really like so far. I love their pencils. Really, for the price, they got bumped right up on my list of favorite pencils at the price range. I'm just double checking my reference. Making sure I have the right colors going in the right places. I haven't followed the exact reference photo, but I'm trying to keep kind of close to it, so that I know at the very end that my lighting is going to work out nice. Now, if you've never worked on art paper, it works a little bit different than the coloring books. The coloring books grab the ink a little thicker, I think. Now, if you can notice, really, I'll zoom in on it. I do a layer and you can see all that white in it. That's your tooth. So I'm staying right on top of the tooth, but I'm going to go in with my Polychromos and change it all up in just a minute. Just making sure it's all good. Okay, that's good. Now I'm going to get out my red, and this is dark red. And I'm going to switch over into little circles. And I'm going to turn this brick red. Now, I know it looks a little dark now, but I'm only on layer 2. And it will lighten up. Another thing that I found with this paper, I get fantastic erasing with it. Which I was very pleased. Some paper leaves stain, which isn't so bad because usually I'm not far off with colors. When I do have to erase, I'm not that far off. And usually a layer of the next color will cover any sort of mistakes. At least I haven't run into that much of a problem. Knock on wood, it'll happen now, but you can still see the little white hairs in it. Now, if I was going to use mineral spirits, that would get covered up very easily. I'm just leaving this little area over here white because there's a highlight in there. Okay, I'm going to put it on, I'm going to put this on hyperlapse because I'm just doing more of the same, and I'll come back when I have something new. I just don't want this video to become 2 hours long. So I have all the color on the page, but for me to take it any further than this, I need to spray it. I could probably get more layers on the paper. I know I can, but it's going to be harder. It's just easier for me to put a spray fixative on it and just let it dry overnight. It'll be fine. And then tomorrow I'll have plenty of tooth and I can get really into the details. So I will see you in my next video. Take care, guys. Bye.